Mars X. And today we're going to be talking with Karishma, who is the founder of SASU. And SASU is an amazing marketplace for fitness and beauty services. And I guess we're going to just have to wait a little bit for her to come here and give us a better rundown of what SASU is, what it is about. And also John is going to be joining us today. John is a CEO and CTO, how peculiar is that, of Mars. And he's going to be talking a little bit about the story behind their work with SASU, how it all started, how they were working with their MVP, because they initially came to Mars wanting to build their MVP. And I'm going to give you a bit of a story here, right? So last year we launched this grant which startups could use for their development, and the grant would cover a prototype, and it was, I think, about 25,000 NOK, as in Norwegian kroners. And SASU was one of the first projects that responded to the grant and wanted to build their prototype with us. And we really loved their project, loved their approach to it, because they were ready to dedicate their time, to dedicate their attention to it. And it was really a pleasure working with them. So we ended up working a lot more, I guess, with them. And also there was a bit of a scale down, and John is going to be the one talking about the importance of it. Oh, hi, John.
Hello.
Okay, I think John is finally here, and okay, and Karishma is here as well. Hi. Okay, guys, you're live, I think. Hi, Karishma, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you. I think Sundus is having difficulties with finding the link.
All right, I just sent it to her as well. So hopefully she's coming.
Yeah, I was just talking to her. She was trying to find the link.
Yeah. I just sent it to her again. Yeah, let's fingers crossed.
Hold on, let me just help her out.
Okay, sure. Okay, sorry.
Hi, är du inne?
I'm probably the least technical person out here, so yeah, my bad.
Du må gå in på.
But hi, John, can you maybe talk a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, what you do?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for giving me the microphone. Well, I'm doing startups. I would say almost all my life, since I finished school, and that was maybe 15 years ago. So I've been doing everything from programming in my first startup, and then doing the CTO role, and then doing the product role, and then doing design, and then fundraising, sales, marketing. So I think I've done everything you can do in a startup. So I'm like this Swiss knife.
Oh, that's impressive. Hi, Sundus, I'm sorry, that's my fault entirely.
No problem.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, John. And I think, yeah, let's talk about the ladies. And before we go into SASU, I think we all really want to learn a little bit about you, because it's important to know about the founders. I think your personalities really affect your startups. So Karishma, let's maybe start with you.
Yes, hello, I'm Karishma, and I am the co-founder and the CMO in SASU. My background is in marketing, and I also have been a makeup artist for some years. And yeah, so I'm the one who does all the social media and content, and also been a huge part of the SASU website development. Yeah, Sundus.
Great, thank you.
Hi, yeah, shortly about me. My name is Sundus. I am the CEO of and founder of SASU, and my background is in teaching and project management. I've always had like business ideas coming to me, but I haven't done anything about it. But yeah, so I just decided to go ahead and just like follow my dream and do business. So that's how SASU started.
Oh, wow, wonderful. Well, it's great that you mentioned the idea stage, because I think in the audience we may have some founders or some future founders that are still thinking about like what would take them to another level. So how did you come up with the idea? How was SASU born?
Yeah, the concept and solution SASU was inspired by challenges friends of mine were having in finding service providers. Two of my friends were getting married and they were looking for makeup artists and hairstylists, and they were using different channels such as Instagram, Facebook, going through different websites in order to find good beauticianists. And another friend of mine was looking for a personal trainer, and she also came across the same challenges, like using different channels, and found this time consuming and inefficient. It is also inspired by the simplicity of Airbnb, who is also a great marketplace that I use whenever I travel. So I thought, so when I heard about the challenges that my friends were facing, I just thought, like, why doesn't it exist a solution as simple as Airbnb for the services that my friends were looking for? So that's the story behind the SASU.
Oh, wow. So it's very personal. You were trying to help a friend.
Yeah, yes, and I also like I was working as a project manager, and my contract ended, and I was like, maybe this is a good time to start a business. And this was around the same time that my friends was talking about these type of challenges. So yeah.
Oh, that's a great story. And you were actually launching during the lockdown, so that should have been very peculiar. I mean, having a wedding during the lockdown, how was that?
Oh no, they had the wedding in the spring of 2019. So I like the idea phase started the autumn of 2019, but I started researching what a marketplace and platform was in the beginning of 2020. So yeah.
Okay.
I did a lot of research before I started, because I'm not a person that takes risks. So this was a huge step for me. So I really needed to make sure. So before I built a solution, I did some pre-validation process.
Oh, that's amazing. That's actually very important. But how did you guys meet? How did you become co-founders? What's the story there?
Yeah, so I was part of this incubator program that was helping me to get started with SASU, and I don't know anything about marketing, or that's my weakness. And I was looking for someone who could do marketing, and my mentor through that program suggested Karishma. They had been working together in a different project, and I reached out to Karishma, and yeah, here we are.
Okay, so Karishma, what made you go into it? It's a very new adventure, I think, for you too.
Yeah, so basically I was in my bed going to sleep, and I then saw this pling email from Sundus Osman, and I was like, who is this? And then I read the email, and she said, I wanted to meet you, I've heard about you and this and that. And I said, sure, let's have a cup of coffee. And then we met, and I told her about my startup experiences, that I've helped many startups with their marketing, and in Oslo, in India, and also in England. So after speaking, I was immediately like very intrigued about the concept, because I have used a similar concept in India, also in England. It's actually quite common to like book nail artists or makeup artists to come to your house instead of you actually going to the salons. Um, so I was like, yeah, sure, let's do this. And also, when I was studying, I always wanted to start something on my own, but I didn't really. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna work in a company till I'm 40, and then maybe I'll start something. But yeah, that didn't happen. And we started working together since September 2020, and have been working ever since. And I believe in 1 month we will be past that 2-year milestone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Oh, it's great. I love how you complement each other and how, you have different sets of skills, and you probably have something to discuss there. So it's amazing. But yeah, I think we have some audience now, and guys, don't be shy. Ask some questions if you want to know more about the ladies. And, the most important part of this talk, and we want to know how you moved basically from from having no startup to having an amazing working solution. So how did you go from the idea stage to the MVP?
Yeah, so as you mentioned in the beginning, we were one of the startups that got this grant of free development work from Marsh. I first came across Marsh in a Norwegian Facebook group for startups, where John posted that Marsh was offering this grant, and we were one of the startups that were picked. At first, I don't have any like corporate background, so I was like very skeptical, because this was a foreign company, and so I had to look at their portfolio, and saw that some of the companies that they had built solutions for were Norwegian startups, and it looked really legit. But I needed more information, and I contacted the founders of these companies, and all of them gave really good feedback about Mars. And so I asked if they could create a wireframe for us, which they did. And this wireframe actually helped us to get the market clarification grant from Innovation Norway in order to build an MVP.
Okay.
Yeah, but the reason why we chose them as a partner is a different answer. I can come back to that.
All right. Okay.
We connected with Mars. Yeah.
But I really like that, you do your due diligence. It's really amazing. Not a lot of startups do that. And they just, they just go in and basically often just end up with the first solution they get offered.
No, don't do that.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I spend a lot of time doing research, so it's really important to me to compare different alternatives.
Oh, cool. Wow. Okay. And probably the question that we're all thinking about, what you mentioned funding, like how you got the grant from Innovation Norway, was it? Am I right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what's that about? Like, could you maybe elaborate?
Yeah, so Innovation Norway has different grants for startups. So the first grant that you can apply for is called the Market Clarification Grant, which is 100,000 Norwegian krone, and you can use that to validate, to build an MVP, to validate your business idea. So yeah, we got that grant late 2020.
Oh, okay. So that's roughly like 10,000 euro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And sorry?
That's not much.
That's not much, right? But usually when we look at the assessments of DevShop and like other companies, they go up to MVPs go up to 250K. So how were you able to to fit into 10K?
Yeah. So so remember that they created Wi-Fi. I don't think I asked if they could do an MVP for us or what the money was. I really thought that I had spoken to many Norwegian and foreign companies, development companies, and asked about estimate, and like we really couldn't afford an MVP. So one of our mentors suggested us to advised us to look for a marketplace software or a marketplace platform to build our MVP. And we Googled a lot, and we came across ShareTribe, Mirkala, I think it's called, and Magneto, who are like software systems. And ShareTribe has a really good reputation as a marketplace software, and we were leaning heavily towards them since they had a lot of the features that we needed to get started with our MVP. So they put us in contact with two IT consultant companies that were familiar with their software system. But the estimate these IT companies gave us was mind-blowing. We were really shocked. And so what we reacted to...
It was like 3-4 times more than what we ended up with, yeah.
Yeah, it was, I think one of the estimates was like 27,000 euros,
Okay.
which,
plus like some monthly or yearly fees and extra
also
extra features, and yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
So what we really reacted to in regards to their proposal was that it seemed like 80% of what they were charging for were features that we expected to be out of the box with ShareTribe. So due to this, we decided not to go forward with them. We came back to Mars and we were like, okay, can you help us? This is what this is the features that we need. And they were like, yeah, of course we can. This is how we can build your solution. So yeah, that's the story behind how we decided to partner up with them.
Okay, John, what do you think? Is it usually the case that all the outsourced companies end up assessing all the projects like 2 to 10 times more than Mars does?
If I answer that question honestly, I will have less friends left after this
call. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, but
I totally did.
But I think it's not difficult to answer that question. Like if you look at the motivation, like the motivation of the founders in startup is to build fast and on a low budget because they need money for other things, or they just don't have that money yet. They don't want to spend like time on raising money. They rather want to build stuff, right? And with the service companies, usually that's the game of selling hours, and then when you sell hours, you just want to sell as many hours as possible, and that's your business. Like it's difficult to expect something else there, and the only way to expect something else there, if you go to someone who is having the same motivation, like somebody who wants to actually build something fast and on a low price, and that's for some reason that's their motivation as well. And in case of Mars, like why was that motivation relevant for Mars is that the whole idea behind Mars is that the software development is heavily overpriced. It takes forever to build stuff, and at the end, nobody's really building rocket science. Like usually, 90% of the stuff you have, even in SASU and any project, like 80-90% of the stuff you have is just what others have, and you're trying to compete with others on the little part, important part, but little, right? But you end up paying for all the other 80%, what's the same everywhere, all over again every time. Like you pay, the others pay, and then the whole idea with Mars is that nobody has to pay for that. Like those things have to be just done once, and then nobody pays for that again. And if that's the ambition and that's the the culture of the company, then the developers who are in the Mars network, like they don't want to build stuff for years. They just want to build stuff as fast as possible, and that's why we have the rule there that things are going with the fixed price, because when things are with fixed price, developers want to kind of get rid of the project as fast as possible, and that's good because you don't want them to to stretch this forever, because that's the thing with MVPs. It's so simple to actually overcomplicate MVP if the people who develop that do not really want to stop you from doing that, right? Like they will be easily dragging you along very far to making very complicated stuff because more hours to be solved. But if you are on the other thing, like they are also interested in finishing this fast and good, then they're actually doing the opposite. They're almost like your team. So I'm very skeptical about startups working with vendors that are not within the company. But then in this case, like if you have vendor who is outside but have the same incentives, then it's actually great, because like it's all about incentives. As long as you have the same incentives, it doesn't matter where, if they're part of the team or they're the contractors. So I think in your case, that was the whole puzzle came together that way. You were very smart on how you spend the money, and you were actually lucky you didn't have too much money, because if you had too much money, you would go with traditional stuff and you would end up with getting very little for that.
Yeah, that's true. We also had a look at Bubble, but it's difficult to scale if you build on Bubble. That's like the impression that we got. And what we liked about the developers at the Mars network was that they were really solution oriented. They provided us, so when we asked like how can we build SASU on Mars, they provided strategies and guided us on figuring out the most critical MVP features to test our hypothesis. So yeah, we're really happy with the collaboration.
And also if we like had this idea that we sent them and said this is how we want it to be, they would say yes, we can do that, but our developers have this and that idea, maybe that can effectivize it or like give you a better result. And we were like, okay, it's cheaper, it's faster, it's more user friendly, let's do it. So I really liked how they also like came up with ideas for us as if they were part of our team,
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm glad you started talking about scaling up, but in a lot of cases about MVPs, it's about scaling down. So making sure that you don't overbuild. Basically, you don't build anything that you haven't validated. So did you do any work there, and how was it structured?
Yes. So when you write a scope, you have to have like nice to have features and also must have. So we focused on when I said scaling up, I was thinking like in the future we want to scale up. So yeah, they helped us to focus on the most critical features to start with, to validate the concept.
All right. What did you have to give up something that you really liked?
Not that I can remember.
Okay.
I think. Do you remember, Karishma? I think we gave up some, but
I
it
think
wasn't.
there was this messaging function.
Yeah, the chat service. Yeah.
The chat. Okay.
Yeah, we were talking about having like a chat in the platform, but we figured out that would take a lot of time, and also there are different solutions to that. So instead of having like a full chat where you cannot send mobile number or email to each other, because we wanted to keep it on the platform, we instead made a function where when the provider says yes to the booking, the provider and the customer both get each other's phone number.
Okay.
So they can just contact each other on their phones.
So and they can change time and date and
right. So it still works. You can validate this idea.
And also when they change the time. Yeah. So I think that's still a nice to have feature that we are gonna maybe have later on, but right now we're pretty happy with the phone number solution.
That's amazing. Yeah, we just recently talked to startups.com, and they have a very similar experience with that. Most of the startups really fail on scoping down their MVP, and they end up building this enormous projects for 5-6 months that cost up to 200K, and this is just absolutely ridiculous. And I think John is right. This is because developers usually charge for hours, and you kind of want to work more in that case. So, John, what is it? What is the story with Mars? Is it a fixed price?
Well, I think like the most important question you have to answer here is like how to get everybody who is involved in the project to have the same incentives, right? And then if that's the question you ask, then you get all the answers. For example, do you want the developers to actually think about simple ways of doing stuff, or actually not? Because it's not necessarily developers are evil and they're just trying to make it complicated. It's rather that if they're just neutral, that's bad, because you want them to be not neutral. You want them to be as active as you are with their brains on figuring out, like they just mentioned this idea how they went around with the chat. They just made this phone number thing when they say yes to each other. And the interesting thing here is that you never know what would be happening there if you had a chat. Maybe you would have worse retention, or it's just if you're doing things simple, it's always better for the end user actually. But it's very difficult to push yourself that way, and that's why I think going with fixed price, I would say, is the only way. Because if you don't go with a fixed price, basically you give no incentive to the developer to look for simple solutions, and everybody's lazy by default. Even the founders, right? And then developer will just be neutral and will just make average solutions that will be not good, not bad, but you want him to be really good at figuring out great solutions that take less time and give more results. So yeah, I would always go for MVP on a fixed price, and because then you have a bunch of people who sit together with you on always scoping down the MVP, always narrowing down the features. Otherwise, you're alone on that. Like once you're having an hourly thing, you're on your own, and if you're not technical, you can't really do a good job on figuring out what features should you take in, not out, because you have to know what it takes to build it in order to estimate whether you want to have it in and out, right? So my answer, Anna, is go, like whoever is listening, guys, just go with a fixed price for MVP, never anything else, unless you have people who are the tech people are the founders, that then they're incentivized by default, right?
Right.
And I would also say that having to do, like for me and Sundus, it was like we don't have all the nice to have features. So obviously sometimes we have to do some manual work, which takes a lot of time. But it's so important in the beginning for a startup to do this manual work, because it makes us understand the customers even more, and it also gives us more ideas and more ways to scale the concept when we want to do that. So yeah, it might take more time, it might be a bit boring work, but it's so important to do that. So any startup that's listening, if you're planning on going from 0 to 1 million, like in a few weeks in development, then don't do that. It's better to keep it simple and learn a lot, even though it's really time consuming.
Oh, wow. Okay, that was really insightful. I think this is something that we all have to learn. But let's get back to this from 0 to 1 million. Let's talk about from 0 to 1. What was your first, interaction with the customer? Who was your first customer, and how did you work with them?
So our first customer was it was right before, I think it was day before Halloween. And there were
2 days after launching, we got our first customers.
Yes, It was like a few hours after launching, and we already had 2 people booking for Halloween makeup, and it was through a Google ad. I think we spent 200 kroners on that ad, and we got really good result on that one. And they gave us amazing feedback. They were super happy, and they posted about us on social media. One of them were actually an influencer, and then I think we just kept on doing the marketing and going into Facebook groups. That helped a lot. Like there are a lot of Facebook groups like for weddings and parties, and people are like asking a lot of questions. Where can I find a makeup artist? And we really saw that, oh my God, if people just knew about our service, they would just save so much time, because they could just go to our platform, find a makeup artist or a hairstylist, whatever you need, and get the service done. So yeah, I think in November we had these first orders, but I think honestly we had like the real start for me, at least I think it was in January, where we like focused a lot on, like, we were done with all the bugs, like we had finished everything, it was perfect, and then we just started marketing full on from January. And since January our sales have been only like increasing each month.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's great.
Without ads. Yeah, we haven't.
That's great. So all
Everything
organic.
has been organic since January. Everything is organic.
Wow, that's impressive. But what was your go-to-market strategy? Was there any, like, did you go to influencers or did you write a blog? I know there is a blog.
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to the go-to-market strategy, I think I created 20 different strategies.
Okay.
It just kept on changing all the time, because based on the results, I would like cater the new strategy based on that. And then I would find a new customer group and I was like, oh, okay, I should create a strategy for that as well. But in the starting, it was mainly SEO, like creating blogs, and Instagram and TikTok,
Okay.
and these Facebook groups. Yeah.
Oh, right.
And
Okay.
what this helped, like focusing in the organic way, really helped us talk directly with the customers instead of going through paid ads, because if you only rely on paid ads, that can be really bad in the long term. So that's why we're happy that we're getting results organic too. Yeah.
Oh, I completely agree.
Customers. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Sundus.
I said you don't, like, through paid ads, you're not really communicating with your target audience. But if you post an engaging video on TikTok, and many people will like comment and then ask you questions, and that in that way you can actually communicate with your target audience.
And I remember the first time that I posted about SASU on my TikTok, I think after 30 minutes, that video had like 20,000 views. And we had over 100 people on our website. And I remember calling Sundus and jumping up and down. I was like, look at Google Analytics, we have 100 people on our website.
That's amazing. But did you have like a big following before that, or was it just an amazing content?
So I've been creating TikToks for about a year. Okay. So I've always thought that if you like make like a small following base on your social media, that can be beneficial if you are like planning on starting something later in life.
Absolutely.
So I've been like talking about a lot about beauty, because as I mentioned earlier, I've been a makeup artist earlier, and I had around 8,000 to 9,000 followers at that time. And yeah, it just happened. I think it was a mixture of both content and following. Yeah.
That's amazing. And we have a question here. So as a content producer, I'm always curious what is the most relevant for people's marketing requirements, so I can create things that will actually give them a positive effect. So how would you say your marketing needs changed from when you started to where you are now?
So what it actually depends on what you are marketing. Right. So did this person mention like what?
Not really, but what is your experience basically? Did you change any approach in your marketing?
Yeah, for sure. I think I listed down 8 to 9 different ways that I found from a random article that you should market a marketplace.
Yeah.
And also I got like I made like an Excel sheet with KPIs, and I started off like with the basic way, the way Google says you should do it, and then I kind of snevret shortened it to the relevant KPIs, and I also decided to only focus on those steps that showed result. I just completely left out the things that didn't show result. Like I think I did what didn't show result. Let me think. So I think for some time we were looking for investors.
Okay.
We still are. So if there are any investors here, let us know. But there was a time where we were like specifically looking for investors. And then it was like, obviously I wouldn't post like a video about it on social media, like on Instagram or Snapchat. I posted it on LinkedIn because I felt like that was a place where you could find investors. So I would say look
Always
for
know where your target audience is.
so
I think.
step one
Right.
is find out who is your customer. And step two is where are your customers often hanging around? Is it a physical place? Is it social media? Which social platform? And then just focus on that. Don't think that you're going to be everywhere because you won't have time for that in the startup. In the beginning, I was everywhere. I was like Facebook, Instagram, this and there. And now it's just Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
And sometimes blogs because that showed amazing results. Yeah.
Okay. Sundus, and did you have like a full trust with that?
Karishma, yes,
Yeah.
yes, of course. I always trust.
That's
And hopefully she
awesome.
trusts me. Yeah. Now
That's
she
great.
does. Yeah, she does her work and I do mine. And if I need help, she helps me. If she needs help, yeah, we have brainstorming sessions. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I fully trust her.
Oh, that's an amazing flow. And John, what do you think? Is it helpful in development of a project? Is it helpful to have somebody do the marketing and have a good go-to-market strategy? Does it help validation and ultimately saving some money?
Well, I think one thing I can tell for sure about marketing is that first you have to have an amazing product that solves the problem, and that makes it all easier, right? And but the second is that it's another reason of being lucky not having too much money is that, like Sundus said, they didn't spend a lot of money on the ads, and that's good because if you spend money on ads, like there is one example I had recently. There's a app or project management tool called ClickUp, and they have burned, I think, about 300 million or 200 million dollars on the ads. So they raised 800 million and they burned almost half of it, I think, on the ads. Wow. And a lot of people use them, and I watched their ads like a million times, and I ended up using it as well because if you see so many ads, you just want to stop seeing the ads. You hope if you use, they will not show the ads anymore. but it was such a terrible product, like really the worst project management tool I ever used. So I just, we stopped using that after a while, and then I realized that the reason they have a crappy product is that they have too much money on the marketing, and that's why they have no idea they have bad product because their numbers are growing because they are, showing the ads everywhere. And like I would always go with a strategy where don't spend money and just try to figure out what is now who need this the most and what is the channel that works the best, and kind of focus on that because you're a few people, you have little money in the beginning, and you just can't do everything at once. And it's same as with building MVP, like, spend your time on important features, don't do all the unimportant stuff yet. So with go-to-market strategy, I would recommend the same thing, and I think that's exactly what happened here. So we're kind of having, the best practice of how building a startup from start to the traction. That's very exciting to hear.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that you said that, because we actually have there is someone in Norway who's building is like almost the same product as us, and they have burnt out so much money on like this fancy marketing, fancy cars, merch and everything, and people are like, I downloaded your apps but there's nothing there. So they
Yeah.
have like
They're doing marketing before launch.
so
Okay.
honestly, I will be honest, like in the beginning, we were like a bit scared that, oh no, they have so much money and this and that, and this person has these many team members. But we talked to a mentor, and she was like, it doesn't matter, it's the people, guys, the launch. It's not really about the money.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
am I
No,
here?
you're back. I think you're back now.
Okay.
Well, we get the idea. Yeah, I totally agree. It will be even the opposite. Actually, if you look at where we're heading now, it's pretty clear that we're going to be having not a lot of investment money in the startup industry next 3 to 5 years. And I think the startups who know how to burn little are those that are interesting now for investors. I see that already now. Like it has shifted, and I'm sure, like in your case, at some point when investors look at your project and the competitor, and they see where's the burn rate there and where's the burn rate here, and what's the outcome with, I'm sure that this will be way more interesting because that's kind of it's more of value here, less of a marketing.
Yeah. And also, like, one thing that we learned from the Mars network was to do several product launches before you do a market launch. So we did like several testing phases. We launched our product several times to a small group before we did a market launch. And through that, we got feedback on what could be improved and what was good, what wasn't good. And so it's really important to test your product with different groups before you do a market launch, before you target the big audience.
Oh, but you launched so recently, but you already got a competitor copying you, and we got some projects coming to us and saying, hey, you did such an amazing job with SASU. We love SASU, so we kind of want to get in there as well, and we're just so proud that we got so much out of this little program that we launched.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Glad to hear that.
Like, I don't know why, but I think everybody knows SASU. Like, I haven't had any contact with like the founder in Norway like in the last 6 months where they didn't mention SASU. So you're doing very, very good job on marketing actually, or PR or brand awareness. Like almost everybody knows you.
Thank you.
That's good to hear. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But it cannot all be like super sweet. Maybe there was a mistake. What was yours? What do you regret? Or maybe it was a good mistake in a way that it brought you some insights and new knowledge about how to move forward.
So when it comes to the marketing, for me, it was like we actually have two segments or two categories on our website. One is fitness and health, and the other one is beauty and hair. So what we started doing in the beginning was that we were marketing both segments at the same time. So basically the traction was getting diluted 50-50. So and I also noticed that people were more attracted to the beauty and hair side, and that might be because I also marketed that a bit extra because I've been in makeup. So we just decided one day after talking to 3-4 mentors, and I think even the developers at the Mars network also recommended that if you're seeing results from one segment, just keep on pushing that. So I think what we did wrong in the beginning was that with just me in marketing alone, we shouldn't have focused on both segments. We should start with one and then see how that goes, and like create awareness around that, and then eventually like go out to the health and fitness part.
Right.
Hmm.
But yeah, your personal brand must have had some, some influence here as well. And like you said, having a bit of a following, it definitely helps you along the way.
Yeah.
So I think you used it really well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I know that SASU is changing already. Like you have some new strategies, new kinds of customers. So what's the future for SASU? Where are you going? Where do you see yourself? Is it, I don't know, a broader audience, or maybe going global, or I don't know, maybe integrating yourself into AI wearables and stuff like that?
So when we launched, we had this list of people or customer segments that we thought were gonna be our main customers, and this was based on research, so it wasn't based on experience. And then when we launched, we came across new customers that we hadn't thought would initially be our like a big interest from them, but like we are now focusing a lot on events and weddings, and that
Okay.
wasn't like something we planned like or focused a lot on in the beginning, but we just suddenly saw. I posted a post in a Facebook group called I think it was something Wedding 2022, and it was only Norwegians in that group, and I posted one post, and in I think 2-3 days I had 80 messages in my inbox saying, I need this, I need to book, like can you tell me more?
That's why we created a landing page for wedding.
Yeah, so now we have a landing page just for weddings, and also we started collaborating with some event companies, and we saw that they need like bulks of people. They need a lot of service providers, like
Right.
about 20 to 100 people each event. So we started catering to them, and even to this very famous award called Gullruten in Bergen. And we were like, oh, we need to focus more on this. So the strategy currently is events and weddings, and but we're still open like to our platform where we get our regular orders. So that's still on. Yeah.
But it's amazing how, how you're able to adapt. I mean, you see the opportunity, there is your landing page, it's super easy, and, let's go with the flow. That's amazing. John, what do you think? Is it important to adapt to the market? And maybe you have some other ways for SASU to grow. Maybe you have some ideas here.
Well, I think the most important thing is when you start something is to focus on the most important thing first, so that you get traction. Because what happens with most is that they never get a single user. Like, people don't know that, but most startups just never get a single external user using their system for real. Like, the whole thing ends up being built, looking good and everything, but there's no traction. And if you solve that problem, you are like one of very few. And after that, there are a lot of opportunities there, because you already have the people, you already have things running, and then you can expand. And there are two ways of expanding. So one way is to just keep the same thing you're doing, but expand within. Like, for example, you could stay within the fitness and say, we go more into the fitness world, and we would just make more tools for that. Like, maybe not on the front page, but somewhere behind, like back office tools. And that's not a bad idea. But to do that, I would do that only if you're an expert in that thing, like a very big expert. And then you have network. For example, you know the huge chain who would just go and use all the other things you would build for them, right? But if that's not the case, then I think going and replicating the whole thing with other verticals is a good idea, especially if you're targeting Norway now, and it is, or Nordics or Norway, at a small market, and some markets, some verticals are not big enough, and you have to have few. But that's while you scale within Norway. I think when you go outside of Norway, I would say you have to pick probably one thing you want to scale outside first. It will be the same thing. Like, launching internationally is pretty much like, starting from scratch again. You have your stuff, your tech, but you have to figure out how to get the traction abroad. And usually you're gonna start again the same. Take one thing, you bring it abroad, and then if that works in new places, you bring the rest.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's important. You have to keep your focus. You have to have a narrow focus. Yeah. Don't be too broad and too big.
Yeah, and it's probably
just do whatever
easier to.
brought you here. Like, all the things that brought you where you are now, keep doing them. Like, often people just start doing other things, but this worked. If it worked, keep doing that. Because if you do something new, you're again the beginner, and you're again you're throwing the coin again, and the chances are again low, right? Like, most likely everything's gonna fail, right? And it didn't fail for you, so just keep repeating and where it didn't fail.
Yeah, definitely.
Agreed.
Yeah, you don't have to like educate people on so many things right away. So you just give them one and make sure they adapt to it, they learn it, and then you move on to the next one. I totally agree with that. But I think we're going to be wrapping it up soon. So what do you think? What would be your ultimate advice to the founders who are at the very beginning of their journey? What do you think is the most important thing?
Talk to your customers.
Okay.
So you don't build anything before. Do a pre-validate your business idea before you build anything, and through that you can understand if people like your concept, and if they don't, and how you can pivot your concept. And always, like in each phase, in the building phase, you have to talk to some target audience. And once you have launched your product, you need to continue talking to your target audience. So just like, the biggest advice I can give is to really like talk to people. I was in the beginning, I was very naive. I thought I could just like build a solution and the customers would come running to me. But that's now how it works. You have to, you always have to talk to your customers.
Right,
So
absolutely.
one advice I can give.
Yeah, totally agree. You actually said what I was going to say, but to say something else, be patient, because it feels like you're gonna fail, or if you don't get money in your bag, you feel like, oh, there's no point, no one's buying my service. But just remember that I think Airbnb, their graph didn't go like this until the 5th year or something. So just be patient and
be open to pivot. You have to have a mindset.
Yeah, but don't just give up and go to that corporate job again because you didn't wanna keep up with the startup.
Okay, all right. So never go back. Okay, so John, you have
team up with the right technical. I'm out of words
partner?
now. Yes.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that.
What you just said now, it's you're so wise. I am amazed how wise you are.
Thank you.
I mean, people get there quite late, but you're very early there. So I think that that's a good sign. But I agree. I think talking to customers is a very important thing. And it's very difficult because it feels like you're going to be rejected. It feels like people are going to just say what you are doing is not good. But you have to be kind of brave. And if you're not brave, it's impossible to do this kind of things because everything is, there's a lot of stress and fear and things. So, and then the next thing about patience, well, can't add more to that. So I have to add something else. You took the two things I recommend, but the number three thing, be careful with like don't overcomplicate. I think that's my advice. Like it often feels you can just invent everything in your head and just think about all the things, but usually whatever you think people are gonna do is not what they're gonna do. Something's gonna be the same with the way you think, but most likely not. That's why just do as little as you can so that you can go and show something to people, and then they tell you if it's good or bad, and then go back, repeat, and just go on that. So because like it's really hard for me to see people making like 1 year development plan for a thing. I'm like 1 year, like it has to be like 3 months max. You can't go more than 3 months. So that's my piece of advice. Just don't overcomplicate, go in shorter cycles, because you don't know exactly what's going to work out.
Yeah, and also like if you're non-technical founders as we are, and you're gonna team up with a development company, you have to make sure that they understand your requirements and that they can solve, the problems that you have before they write code, before they start the development, and they have to be easy to communicate with, organized. If they're not easy to communicate with, and if they're not organized and solution oriented, I would stay away from them. There's no point spending your money on,
Yeah, and the developers at the Mars network, I could literally send them a message at 2 a.m. Not that I'm gonna do it, but I could, and they would like reply immediately and be like, okay, I'll fix it. They're always there and always available. Yeah.
So it's so nice to hear that, and I'm not gonna let you say anything else then. But it was definitely amazing talking to you. I mean, great insights and an amazing story. How important it is to be open and to talk to your customers, to build a community and use your personal branding. I think you girls did an amazing job, and like I said previously, everyone knows you. Everyone is already copying you, so it must mean that you're doing something right. But yeah, again, thank you so much. And I'm going to invite you as well to our next talk. We're going to talk about green transition trends for startups with another amazing woman, Sabine Gross. So tune in next Tuesday, and let's keep in touch.